Hello and welcome back to English in Fluency. I am your host Alex, and I am so happy you are here with me today. Before we begin, take a deep breath and relax your shoulders. Today, we are going to do something very special. We are not just going to study English words or grammar rules. Instead, we are going to listen to a story about courage, about opening your mind, and about how trying something completely new can change your life. If you have ever felt stuck in your learning, or if you feel like you are studying hard but not improving, this episode is exactly for you. I want you to listen carefully, enjoy the story, and think about how you can apply this lesson to your own life. If you enjoy our sessions and want to support this community, please remember to subscribe to the channel and click the like button right now. It really helps us create more lessons for you. Now, are you ready to open your mind? Let's begin. Have you ever felt like you were standing in front of a locked door? You have the key in your pocket, but you are afraid to use it because you do not know what is on the other side. This is how many of us feel when we learn a new language. We have the vocabulary, we know the grammar, but we are afraid to open the door and actually step into the world. Today, I want to tell you a story about a man named Leo. Leo was a very diligent student. Diligent means he worked very hard and was very careful. Leo lived in a small, quiet town. He worked in an office where he sat behind a computer all day, typing numbers and organizing files. Leo was a good worker, but he had a secret dream. He wanted to travel the world and speak English fluently. He wanted to make friends from different countries and understand their cultures. Every evening, after he finished his dinner, Leo would sit at his kitchen table with a pile of heavy textbooks. He would study for 2 hours every single night. He memorized lists of verbs. He wrote down complicated sentences. He practiced his spelling until his hand hurt. But there was a big problem. Leo never spoke to anyone. He was terrified of making a mistake. He thought that if he said the wrong word, people would laugh at him. He believed that he had to be perfect before he could start living. Because of this fear, his English was stuck. He could read well, but he could not listen or speak comfortably. He was trapped in his own routine, doing the same thing every day, expecting a different result. One rainy Tuesday afternoon, Leo was walking home from work. He was holding his umbrella tightly against the wind. As he passed the local community center, he saw a bright yellow flyer stuck to the window. It was colorful and interesting, so he stopped to look at it. The flyer said, "International Cooking Club. Learn to cook dishes from around the world. All levels welcome. Come and make friends." Leo stared at the paper. He loved food, but he did not know how to cook anything except simple pasta and eggs. He thought about walking away. His brain told him, "Leo, don't do it. You don't know how to cook. You will look foolish. And what if they speak English there? You will be too nervous." Just as he was about to turn away, the door of the community center opened. A woman stepped out. She had a warm smile and was carrying a basket of fresh vegetables. Her name was Elena. Elena looked at Leo and saw him staring at the flyer. She smiled and said, "Hello there. Are you interested in the cooking club? We are starting in 10 minutes. You should come in." Leo felt his face get hot. He panicked. He wanted to say no, but Elena's voice was so kind and inviting. He stammered and said, "Oh, I am not a cook. I am just looking." Elena laughed softly and shook her head. She said, "None of us are professional cooks. We are just here to try something new and have fun. Come on, try it once. If you hate it, you'll never have to come back." Something about her words made Leo feel brave. She said, "Try something new." It was a simple phrase, but it stuck in his mind. He realized that he had not tried anything new in years. He always ate the same food, walked the same streets, and studied the same books. So, against his better judgment, he closed his umbrella and followed Elena inside. The room was warm and smelled delicious. There were onions frying and the scent of spices in the air. There were about 10 people in the room, and they were all different ages and from different backgrounds. Elena clapped her hands to get everyone's attention. She spoke in English, but she spoke clearly and simply. She said, "Welcome, everyone. Today, we are going to make a traditional dish from Italy. We are going to make homemade pizza from scratch." Leo felt a lump in his throat. He had to listen to instructions in English, and he had to work with his hands. Elena paired Leo with a man named Sam. Sam was an older gentleman with a loud laugh and a very friendly face. Sam looked at Leo and said, "Nice to meet you, partner. I hope you are ready to get messy." This brings us to an important point in our learning journey. The phrase "get messy" is very interesting. Literally, it means to get your hands dirty with flour or tomato sauce. But metaphorically, it means allowing yourself to be imperfect. It means it is okay to make mistakes and be disorganized while you are learning. Leo was afraid of getting messy, both in cooking and in English. He wanted everything to be clean and perfect. They started the task. Elena gave instructions. "First," she said, "you need to mix the flour and the water in the big bowl. Stir it until it becomes a dough." Leo listened intently. He understood the word mix and water, but he wasn't sure about dough. However, he watched Sam. Sam poured the water into the flour and started mixing with his hands. Leo copied him. He realized that he didn't need to understand every single word perfectly to understand the action. He could use his eyes and his open mind to fill in the gaps. This is a key skill in listening practice. You do not need to translate every word in your head. You just need to understand the context and the situation. As they worked, Sam started talking to Leo. He asked, "So, Leo, what do you do for work?" Leo was nervous. He usually rehearsed his answers in his head before speaking. But his hands were covered in sticky dough, and the kitchen was noisy and busy. He didn't have time to think about grammar rules. He just blurted out, "I work in an office, with computers." Sam nodded and smiled. "That sounds interesting. I used to be a mechanic. I like fixing things." Leo was surprised. He had spoken, and Sam had understood him. He didn't use a perfect sentence structure, but communication happened. Then, disaster struck. Or at least, Leo thought it was a disaster. Elena told them to toss the pizza dough in the air to stretch it out. This is a classic way to make pizza. Sam tried it and caught the dough easily. "Your turn, Leo," Sam cheered. Leo was terrified. He picked up his circle of dough. He threw it up into the air, but he used too much force. The dough flew up, hit the ceiling, and stuck there. It didn't come down. It just stayed stuck to the ceiling tile. The whole room went silent for 1 second. Leo wanted to disappear. He felt his face turn bright red. He thought everyone would laugh at him and call him stupid. He waited for the criticism. But then, Sam started laughing. It wasn't a mean laugh. It was a belly laugh of pure joy. Then, Elena started laughing, and soon the whole room was giggling. Elena walked over, looked at the dough on the ceiling, and smiled at Leo. She said, "Well, Leo, you definitely have strong arms. That is the highest pizza toss I have ever seen. Don't worry, it happens. Here is another piece of dough. Try again, but a little gentler this time." In that moment, Leo learned something incredible. He learned that failure is not the end of the world. In fact, failure can be funny. It can be a moment of connection. Nobody was angry. Nobody judged him. They were just enjoying the moment. Leo smiled, took the new piece of dough, and tried again. This time, he did it perfectly. For the rest of the evening, Leo forgot about his grammar books. He forgot about being perfect. He was too busy chopping tomatoes, grating cheese, and laughing with Sam. He listened to Elena's stories about Italy. He listened to Sam talking about his grandchildren. He was listening to English, but he wasn't studying it. He was using it to do something. He was using the language as a tool to connect and create. When the class finished, they all sat down to eat the pizza they had made. It was the best pizza Leo had ever tasted. Not because the recipe was perfect, but because he had made it himself, and he had overcome his fear. As he was leaving, Elena walked up to him. "You did great today, Leo," she said. "Your English is very good, by the way. You speak very clearly." Leo was shocked. "Really?" he asked. "But I make mistakes. I get stuck." Elena nodded. "Everyone makes mistakes," she said. "But today, you were open. You were trying. When you are open to new experiences, your brain wakes up. You stop worrying, and you start living. That is when the language flows." Leo walked home that night with a new feeling in his chest. He felt light. He felt proud. He realized that for years he had been trying to learn English by keeping his world small and safe. But true learning happens when you make your world bigger. It happens when you say yes to the cooking class, or the dance lesson, or the strange invitation. By trying a new hobby, he forced his brain to work in a new way. He associated English words with smells, tastes, and actions, not just ink on a page. This story of Leo is a reminder to all of us. When we learn English, we often think we need to lock ourselves in a room and study until we are perfect. But the truth is, we improve faster when we step outside. Trying new things helps you improve because it removes the pressure. When Leo was cooking, his focus was on the pizza, not on the grammar. Because his focus was shifted, his anxiety went down. And when anxiety goes down, fluency goes up. So, I want to ask you a question. What is something new you have been afraid to try? Maybe it is not a cooking class. Maybe it is joining a sports team. Maybe it is learning how to paint. Maybe it is just going to a new coffee shop and ordering in English. Whatever it is, I want you to think about it. Let's practice some listening comprehension based on the story we just heard. I am going to explain a few key phrases that I used in the story so you can understand them deeply and use them in your own conversations. The first phrase I used was "stuck in a rut." I didn't use this exact phrase in the story, but I described the feeling. To be stuck in a rut means you are doing the same boring routine every day, and you cannot get out. Leo was stuck in a rut. He went to work, came home, studied, and slept. If you feel like your English is not improving, maybe you are stuck in a rut. The solution is to do something different. Change your method. Listen to a new podcast. Read a different kind of book. The second phrase is against his better judgment. I said that Leo went inside the community center against his better judgment. This is a very common expression. It means you do something even though your logic or your fear tells you not to do it. Your brain says, no, it is dangerous, or no, it is silly, but you do it anyway. Sometimes doing something against your better judgment is bad, but sometimes, like in Leo's case, it is the best thing you can do. It means taking a risk. The third concept we touched on was the idea of breaking the ice. When Elena made a joke about the pizza on the ceiling, she broke the ice. To break the ice means to do or say something that relieves tension and makes people feel more comfortable in a social situation. When you are meeting new people, it is always good to break the ice with a smile or a simple question. Now, let's imagine you are Leo. Imagine you are standing outside that door. I want you to practice saying yes to a new opportunity. Repeat this sentence after me. I will say it slowly, and then at a normal speed. I am ready to try something new today. Now, you say it. I am ready to try something new today. Good. Let's try another one. Mistakes are just part of the learning process. Repeat it. Mistakes are just part of the learning process. Excellent. The story of Leo did not end there. In fact, that was just the beginning. Real life is full of different challenges, and as Leo broke out of his shell in the kitchen, he soon had to use his open mind strategy in a much more stressful environment, his workplace. A few weeks after the charity dinner, Leo was sitting at his desk at the office. He felt different. He was no longer the quiet man who just stared at his screen. He smiled at his colleagues. He said, "Good morning," with energy. His boss, a stern woman named Mrs. Higgins, noticed the change. Mrs. Higgins was known for being very serious. She rarely smiled, and she intimidated most of the employees. Intimidated means she made them feel small and nervous. But one morning, she stopped at Leo's desk. She looked at him over her glasses and said, "Leo, I have a special assignment for you. Next week, a client is coming to visit us from London. His name is Mr. Sterling. I need someone to show him around the city and take him to dinner on his first night. I think you should do it." Leo froze. His heart skipped a beat. A real client? From London? That meant a native speaker. That meant fast English, British slang, and high pressure. The old Leo would have said no immediately. He would have made an excuse, like saying he was sick or busy. But he remembered Elena's voice saying, "Try something new." He remembered the pizza on the ceiling. He took a deep breath, looked Mrs. Higgins in the eye, and said, "I would be honored, Mrs. Higgins. Thank you for the opportunity." Let's pause here for a second. Did you notice the phrase "out of his comfort zone"? I did not say it explicitly, but that is what is happening. Leo is stepping out of his comfort zone. When you are learning English, your comfort zone is your classroom or your textbook. It is safe there. But growth only happens in the uncomfortable zone. Leo agreed to the task, but inside, he was terrified. He went home that night and did not open his grammar book. Instead, he turned on the television and found a show with British actors. He needed to get his ears ready for the rhythm of the language. This is a great tip for you. If you know you are going to speak with someone from a specific country, try to listen to that specific accent beforehand. It warms up your brain. The day arrived. Mr. Sterling walked into the office. He was a tall man with a loud voice and a very fast way of speaking. He walked up to Leo, shook his hand vigorously, and said, "Cheers for having me, mate. It's absolutely bucketing down out there, isn't it?" Leo blinked. He understood cheers, maybe, but he had no idea what bucketing down meant. He felt that familiar panic rising in his throat. He wanted to run away. But then he remembered his training. He didn't pretend to understand. He didn't just nod and smile fake. Instead, he used a magic phrase. He smiled politely and said, "I am sorry, Mr. Sterling. I am not familiar with that expression. What does bucketing down mean?" Mr. Sterling laughed. "Ah, sorry," he said. "It means it is raining very heavily. It is raining buckets." Leo smiled. "Ah, I understand now. Yes, it is definitely bucketing down." In that moment, the tension disappeared. By asking a question, Leo showed that he was interested, not that he was stupid. This is a crucial lesson for B1 learners. Native speakers do not expect you to know every idiom. They are usually happy to explain. Never be afraid to say, "Could you explain that, please?" That evening, Leo took Mr. Sterling to a local restaurant. It was a traditional place, quite noisy and lively. Mr. Sterling was telling a story about his travel. He was speaking very quickly, connecting his words together. He said things like gonna instead of going to, and wanna instead of want to. Leo had to focus very hard. He leaned forward. He watched Mr. Sterling's mouth. He looked at his hand gestures. This is called active listening. Passive listening is when you let the words wash over you like background music. Active listening is when you are hunting for meaning like a detective. Suddenly, Mr. Sterling stopped talking and looked at his menu. He looked confused. "I can't make heads or tails of this," he muttered. Leo recognized this situation. It was another idiom. Make heads or tails means to be unable to understand something at all. Leo saw his chance to help. He explained the menu items in clear, simple English. He described the ingredients. He recommended the best dish. Mr. Sterling was grateful. "You are a lifesaver, Leo," he said. "I was about to order something spicy, and I hate spicy food." They enjoyed their meal. Leo realized that conversation is like a game of tennis. You hit the ball, and then you wait for the ball to come back. You don't have to hold the ball the whole time. He asked Mr. Sterling questions. "What is your city like? Do you have a family? What hobbies do you have?" By asking questions, Leo took the pressure off himself. Mr. Sterling was happy to talk, and Leo just had to listen and nod. If you are ever in a conversation and you feel stuck, just ask a question about the other person. People love talking about themselves. It is the easiest way to keep a conversation flowing. After dinner, they walked outside. The rain had stopped. The air was fresh. Mr. Sterling turned to Leo and said, "You know, Leo, Mrs. Higgins told me you were quiet, but you are actually very good company. Your English is excellent because you listen well. Many people speak, but they don't listen. You listen." Leo felt a warm glow in his chest, warmer than the soup he had just eaten. He realized that his weakness, his tendency to be quiet and observant, was actually a strength. He just needed the confidence to use it. The next day at the office, Mrs. Higgins called Leo into her office. Leo was nervous again. Did he do something wrong? Did Mr. Sterling complain? Mrs. Higgins looked at him with a rare smile. "Mr. Sterling called me this morning," she said. "He said you were a fantastic host. He said you were professional, polite, and very helpful. Good job, Leo." She paused and then added, "I think we have been underestimating you. I would like you to handle more international clients in the future." Leo walked back to his desk feeling like he was floating. He had faced his biggest fear, a fast-talking native speaker in a high-pressure situation. and he had survived. Not only survived, he had thrived. Thrived means to grow and develop well. He realized that the open mind strategy applied to work just as much as it applied to cooking. It meant being open to the challenge, open to the discomfort, and open to the possibility of success. Now, I want to try a little exercise with you based on this part of the story. I want to practice the skill of asking for clarification. This is the tool that saved Leo when he didn't understand bucketing down. I am going to say a sentence with a difficult word or a nonsense word. I want you to practice saying, "Excuse me, what does that mean?" out loud. Are you ready? Here is the first sentence. The project was completely bamboozled. Now, imagine you heard me say that. You don't know what bamboozled means. So, ask me. Say it now. Excuse me, Alex, what does bamboozled mean? Excellent. Bamboozled means confused or tricked, by the way. Let's try another one. We need to expedite the shipping process. That is a formal business word. Ask me for clarification. Say, "Sorry, could you explain what expedite means?" Perfect. Expedite means to make something happen faster. By practicing these questions, you are building a safety net. You know that if you get stuck, you have a way out. You don't have to panic. A few months later, Leo was feeling very confident. He was cooking regularly, and he was handling clients at work. But he felt something was missing. He realized that he was still only using English when he had to, at the cooking club or at work. He wanted to use English because he wanted to. He wanted to make a real friend who he could talk to every day. He remembered Sam from the cooking club. They were friendly, but they only saw each other once a week. Leo decided to take another risk. He decided to invite Sam for a coffee on a Saturday, just as friends. This seems like a small thing, but for an introvert like Leo, asking someone to hang out was terrifying. What if Sam said no? What if they ran out of things to talk about? Leo texted Sam. He wrote the message 5 times before sending it. "Hi, Sam. Are you free for coffee this weekend?" He pressed send and threw his phone on the sofa, too afraid to look. 5 minutes later, the phone beeped. It was Sam. "I would love to. Let's go to the park cafe." On Saturday, they met. They ordered coffee. For the first 20 minutes, the conversation was a little awkward. They talked about the weather. They talked about pizza. But then, Leo decided to be open. He decided to share a real story. He told Sam about his fear of speaking English. He told him about how he used to study for 2 hours every night without speaking. Sam listened carefully. Then Sam smiled and said, "You know, Leo, I am learning something too. I am trying to learn how to use a computer. My grandson tries to teach me, but I feel so stupid. I am afraid I will break it." Leo laughed. "I can help you with that," he said. "I work with computers all day. It is easy." Suddenly, the dynamic changed. They were not just cooking partners anymore. They were partners in learning. They made a deal. Once a week, they would meet. For 1 hour, Leo would teach Sam about computers. And for 1 hour, Sam, who loved to read, would bring an English book and read it with Leo, helping him with new words and pronunciation. This arrangement was magic. Leo was no longer just a student. He was also a teacher. When you teach someone else, you gain confidence. You realize that you have value. You have skills. Speaking English became natural because they were focused on the task, fixing the computer, or understanding the storybook. They became best friends. They helped each other open new doors. Sam learned to email his grandchildren, and Leo learned to read English novels without a dictionary. This leads us to a very powerful concept: language exchange. You don't always need a formal teacher. Sometimes you just need a partner who wants to learn something that you know. It creates a balance. It takes the pressure off. If you are listening to this and feeling lonely in your learning, look around you. Is there someone who wants to learn your native language? Is there someone who needs help with math, or cooking, or computers? Offer your skills in exchange for English conversation. It changes the relationship from student and master to friend and friend. But Leo's journey was destined to go even further than the coffee shop. 6 months after Leo and Sam became friends, they were sitting in the park cafe on a sunny Saturday. They were looking at a map on Leo's tablet. They had been saving money for a while, and they had decided it was finally time. They were going to visit London. Remember Mr. Sterling, the client Leo helped? He had sent Leo a postcard inviting him to visit any time. Leo looked at Sam and said, "Are we really doing this? Are we really going to England?" Sam grinned and said, "Yes, we are. It is time to test our skills in the wild." This brings us to the first stage of travel: preparation. Many people think language skills are only needed when you arrive, but they are actually needed before you even leave your house. Leo and Sam had to book flights. They had to reserve a hotel. They had to read reviews. They did all of this in English. Leo set his browser language to English. He forced himself to read the terms and conditions of the airline. He learned words like baggage allowance, layover, and boarding pass. A layover is when you stop at an airport in the middle of your journey to change planes. It is a useful word to know. The day of departure arrived. They stood at the airport, surrounded by the noise of rolling suitcases and announcements over the loudspeaker. The airport is a very high-stress environment for listening. The announcements are often muffled or echoey. Muffled means the sound is not clear, like someone is speaking through a blanket. Leo had to listen very carefully to hear their gate number. Flight 402 to London. Heathrow is now boarding at gate B12. Leo heard it. He felt a surge of pride. He grabbed his bag and said to Sam, "Gate B12, let's go." On the plane, Leo sat next to a woman who was reading a magazine. She looked friendly. Leo remembered his goal: try new things. He decided to practice small talk. Small talk is polite conversation about unimportant things, like the weather or travel plans, used to break the silence. He turned to her and said, "Excuse me, are you traveling to London for business or pleasure?" The woman smiled. "For pleasure," she said. "I am going to visit my daughter." They talked for 20 minutes. Leo learned that she was a retired teacher. He told her about his cooking club. He realized that on a plane, you have a captive audience. People are often bored and happy to chat. It is the perfect gym for your English muscles. They landed at Heathrow Airport. It was huge, busy, and chaotic. They walked through immigration. The officer looked stern. He took Leo's passport and asked, "What is the purpose of your visit?" Leo answered clearly, "Tourism. I am here to see the city and practice my English." The officer stamped the passport and said, "Welcome to the UK." That sound, the heavy thud of the stamp on the paper, was the best sound Leo had ever heard. He was officially inside the English-speaking world. But, as often happens in travel stories, things did not go perfectly. They went to the baggage claim area to wait for their suitcases. They waited and waited. The carousel went around and around, but Leo's blue suitcase was nowhere to be seen. The crowd thinned out. Eventually, the carousel stopped moving. Leo's bag was gone. Sam looked at Leo. "What do we do now?" he asked. Leo felt a moment of panic. His clothes, his toiletries, his favorite jacket, everything was in that bag. He wanted to cry, but he knew he had to act. He looked for the lost and found desk. There was a long line. When it was finally his turn, Leo had to explain the situation to a tired airline employee. This is a critical moment for language learners, making a complaint or reporting a problem. You need to be firm but polite. You cannot get angry and shout, because that rarely helps. Leo took a deep breath. He said, "Hello, I am afraid there is a problem. My suitcase did not arrive on the flight." The employee sighed and started typing. "What does it look like?" she asked. Leo had to use descriptive adjectives. "It is a medium-sized, hard-shell, blue suitcase. It has a red ribbon tied to the handle." The employee nodded. "We have it in our system. It was left behind at the connecting airport. It will arrive on the next flight tomorrow morning. We will deliver it to your hotel." Leo was relieved. He didn't have his bag, but he had solved the problem. He had navigated a crisis in a second language. He turned to Sam and said, "Well, I guess I need to buy a toothbrush tonight." They both laughed. Being able to laugh when things go wrong is the sign of a true traveler. They took the subway, which in London is called the Tube, to their hotel. The Tube was loud and hot. People were reading newspapers and looking at their phones. Leo listened to the announcements. "Mind the gap." This is a famous phrase in London. It means, be careful of the space between the train and the platform. Leo loved it. He repeated it under his breath. Mind the gap. He was absorbing the culture through the language. The next few days were a whirlwind of sightseeing. A whirlwind means a very busy and exciting experience. They visited the Tower of London. They took a boat ride on the River Thames. They ate fish and chips in a pub. But the most interesting thing happened on their third day. They decided to visit a famous market in a part of the city called Camden. It was crowded and colorful. There were stalls selling clothes, food, and art. Leo and Sam were looking at some vintage records when they realized they were hungry. They found a small food stall selling falafel. The man serving the food had a very thick accent. It wasn't a British accent. It sounded like he was perhaps from the Middle East or Eastern Europe. Leo struggled to understand him. The man asked, "Salad and sauce with that, mate?" Leo frowned. He didn't catch the words. In the past, Leo would have just nodded and ended up with something he didn't want. But he remembered his active listening training. He looked at the man and said, "I am sorry. It is a bit noisy here. Could you say that one more time, please?" The man smiled and pointed to the bowls. "Do you want salad and sauce?" Leo smiled back. "Yes, please. Everything." As they sat on a bench eating their lunch, Sam said, "You know, Leo, everyone here speaks differently. There is no one correct English. The man at the hotel sounds different from the man at the food stall, and Mr. Sterling sounds different from the immigration officer." Leo nodded. This was a huge realization. We often obsess over sounding like a native speaker, but even native speakers sound different from each other. The goal is not to mimic one specific accent perfectly. The goal is to be understood by everyone. This is what we call international English. It is a tool for the whole world. On their last night in London, they finally met up with Mr. Sterling. He took them to a very old traditional pub. It had low ceilings and a fireplace. Mr. Sterling introduced them to his friends. Leo found himself sitting in a circle with 5 British people. They were joking, laughing, and talking over each other. It was the ultimate listening challenge. At first, Leo stayed quiet. He just listened to the rhythm. He noticed how they used words like lovely, brilliant, and rubbish. Then, someone asked Leo a question. "So, Leo, what do you think of our rainy city?" The table went quiet. Leo looked around. He felt comfortable. He didn't feel like an outsider anymore. He said, "Well, the rain is wet, just like at home, but the people are warmer than I expected." The group cheered and laughed. "That is a brilliant answer," Mr. Sterling said. Leo realized that he had made a joke in English. Humor is the highest level of language mastery. If you can make people laugh, you are fluent in the culture, not just the words. He wasn't translating in his head anymore. He was just being Leo, but in English. When they flew back home, Leo felt different. He walked into his house, and it looked smaller than before. His world had expanded. He unpacked his suitcase, the one that had been lost and found, and looked at his souvenirs. He had a map of the tube, a coaster from the pub, and a receipt from the falafel stall. These were not just objects. They were trophies. They were proof that he could survive and thrive in the English-speaking world. But the story doesn't end with a vacation. You see, when you learn something valuable, you have a responsibility to share it. Leo realized that he had so much knowledge now. He knew about cooking. He knew about travel. He knew about business English. He looked at his community and saw many people who were just like he used to be, scared, stuck, and lonely. He decided to start a blog. A blog is a website where you write stories and articles. He called it Leo's Learning Journey. He started writing about his experiences. He wrote about the pizza on the ceiling. He wrote about the lost luggage. He wrote about the fear of speaking. He wrote in simple English so that other learners could understand him. To his surprise, people started reading it. He got comments from Brazil, from Japan, from Germany. People wrote, "Thank you, Leo. I felt exactly the same way." "Leo, your story gave me courage." He realized that his struggles were universal. Everyone is afraid of looking foolish. Everyone is afraid of the unknown. By being vulnerable and honest, Leo became a leader. One day, he received an email from a local high school. A teacher had read his blog. She asked if Leo would come and speak to her students. She said, "My students are very shy. They think English is just a subject for exams. I want them to see that English is a key to the world. Can you tell them your story?" Leo was nervous. Speaking to Mr. Sterling was one thing. Speaking to a room full of teenagers was another. Teenagers can be a tough audience, but he couldn't say no. He remembered the promise he made to himself. Try new things. He arrived at the school. The classroom was full of 15-year-olds. They looked bored. Some were looking at their phones. Leo stood at the front of the room. He didn't start with, "Hello, my name is Leo." Instead, he reached into his bag and pulled out a picture. It was a picture of the pizza stuck to the ceiling. He held it up. "Does anyone know what this is?" he asked. The students looked up. One boy laughed. "Is that a pizza on a roof?" he asked. Leo smiled. It is a pizza on a ceiling, he corrected gently. And I put it there. The students were listening now. Leo told them the story. He told them about how he used to hide behind his computer. He told them about the cooking club. He told them about getting lost in London. He made them laugh. He made them think. He told them, "You think you are learning English to pass a test, but you are actually learning English so you can order the best falafel in London. You are learning so you can make a friend on a plane. You are learning so you can understand the world." At the end of the talk, a girl raised her hand. She spoke very quietly. "I want to travel," she said, "but I am afraid I will forget the words." Leo looked at her and saw his younger self. He walked over to her desk. "You will forget the words," he said honestly. "It will happen. You will make mistakes. You will say the wrong thing. But that is the fun part. If you are perfect, you have no stories to tell, and stories are the best part of life." The girl smiled. Leo saw a spark in her eyes. He knew that he had passed the torch. Passing the torch means handing the responsibility and the inspiration to the next generation. He was no longer just a learner, he was a mentor. However, after his return from London and his talk at the high school, Leo encountered one final obstacle. As the months went by, the excitement of the trip faded away. His daily routine returned. He went to work. He went to the cooking club. He met Sam. But he felt like he wasn't learning anything new anymore. He knew how to order food. He knew how to make small talk. He knew how to write emails. He felt stuck again. This is a very common phenomenon called the intermediate plateau. Imagine you are climbing a mountain. At the beginning, the climb is steep, and you get high very quickly. You can see your progress every day. But when you reach the middle of the mountain, the path becomes flat. You are walking and walking, but you don't feel like you are going up. Many learners quit here. They think, "I am good enough. I can survive." But Leo didn't want to just survive. He wanted to thrive. He remembered the lesson of the open mind. Trying new things helps you improve faster. He realized he had stopped trying new things because he had become comfortable again. He decided he needed a new challenge, a challenge that was bigger than just himself. He looked around his office. It was a quiet, serious place. People worked hard, but they didn't really connect. They ate lunch at their desks, staring at their phones. Leo saw an opportunity. He knocked on Mrs. Higgins's door. "Mrs. Higgins," he said, "I have an idea. We have clients from all over the world now, but our team doesn't really know much about other cultures. I would like to organize a cultural exchange lunch once a month. We can speak in English, share food, and learn about different traditions. It would be good for team building and good for our English skills." Mrs. Higgins looked at him over her glasses. She was skeptical. Skeptical means she doubted it would work. "Leo," she said, "people are busy. They want to relax at lunch, not study. Do you really think anyone will come?" Leo took a deep breath. This was a test of his persuasion skills. "I think they will come if we make it fun," he said. "I will organize the first one. If nobody likes it, we stop. But I think we need this. We need to open our minds to understand our clients better." Mrs. Higgins paused for a long time. Finally, she nodded. "All right, Leo. You have one chance. Make it good." Leo went to work. He didn't just send a boring email. He made colorful invitations. He remembered the yellow flyer that had changed his life at the community center. He wanted to create that same feeling of curiosity for his colleagues. He asked Sam for help. "Sam," he said, "I need a guest speaker. You have lived a long life. You have stories. Will you come to my office and talk about your time as a mechanic in the 1970s? Sam laughed. "Me? In an office? I don't have a suit." Leo smiled. "You don't need a suit. You just need your voice." The day of the first cultural exchange lunch arrived. Leo had prepared simple food. Pizza, of course, because it was his lucky charm. He set up chairs in the conference room. At 12 p.m. the room was empty. Leo felt a cold stone in his stomach. Had he failed? Was Mrs. Higgins right? But then, at 12:05 p.m., the door opened. A young colleague named Sarah walked in. Then 2 more. Then 5 more. Even the quiet IT guy came in. They sat down, looking a bit awkward. Leo stood up. "Welcome," he said. "Today, we are not colleagues. We are travelers. We are going to travel back in time with my friend Sam." Sam stood up. He told funny stories about fixing old cars. He used slang. He made jokes. Leo watched his colleagues. They were laughing. They were leaning forward. They were asking questions in English. Sarah asked, "Sam, was it hard to work without computers?" The IT guy asked, "What was the most expensive car you ever fixed?" Suddenly, the stiff, boring conference room felt like a warm kitchen. The intermediate plateau was broken. Leo realized that to keep improving his English, he had to stop focusing on learning the language and start focusing on using the language to build community. He wasn't checking his grammar anymore. He was facilitating a connection between people. Facilitating means making a process easier for others. After the lunch, Sarah came up to Leo. "That was amazing," she said. "I usually eat alone in my car. I didn't know Sam was so funny. When is the next one?" Mrs. Higgins walked by. She didn't say anything, but she gave Leo a small, approving nod. That nod was worth 1,000 words. Leo continued to organize these lunches for a year. He invited different guests. He invited the falafel man from the market. He invited the woman from the library. His English improved not because he studied more books, but because he had to manage people. He had to write schedules, introduce speakers, and handle problems. He learned leadership English. This is a very specific set of skills. How to be polite but firm. How to encourage shy people. How to summarize a discussion. Let's pause for a moment of instruction. I want to teach you 3 leadership phrases that Leo used. These are great for B1 and B2 learners who want to sound more professional. Phrase number 1. The floor is yours. We use this when we want to invite someone else to speak. Instead of saying, "You speak now," you say, "Sam, the floor is yours." It is elegant and polite. Phrase number 2. Let's wrap things up. This means let us finish the meeting or the activity. Wrap, like wrapping a present. It is almost 1 p.m., so let's wrap things up. Phrase number 3. I would like to add to that. If you want to give your opinion after someone else has spoken, don't just interrupt. Use this phrase. That is a great point, Sarah, and I would like to add to that. Now, imagine you are Leo in that conference room. Practice saying this. Welcome, everyone. The floor is yours. Say it aloud. Welcome, everyone. The floor is yours. Good. Now try. Let's wrap things up. Excellent. The story of Leo brings us to a full circle. He started as a lonely man afraid of the word dough. He ended as a community leader who brought people together. But the most beautiful moment happened 2 years after he first saw that yellow flyer. Leo was walking past the community center one rainy Tuesday. He saw a young man standing outside, staring at the window. The young man was holding an umbrella tightly. He looked nervous. He looked ready to run away. Leo stopped. He recognized that look. It was the look of fear. It was the look of the locked door. Leo walked up to the young man. He didn't know him, but he knew his feelings. Leo smiled, a warm, open smile like Elena's. "Hello," Leo said. "Are you looking at the cooking club flyer?" The young man jumped a little. Yes," he stammered. "But I don't know. I can't cook. And my English is bad." Leo laughed softly. "My friend," he said, "2 years ago, I stood exactly where you are standing. I was terrified. But walking through that door was the best decision of my life. You don't need to be a chef. You just need to be hungry. Hungry for food. And hungry for life." The young man looked at Leo. "Really?" he asked. "Really?" Leo said. "Come on. I will walk in with you. I will introduce you to Elena. She makes the best pizza in town." Leo opened the door and held it for the stranger. As they walked into the warm, spicy air of the kitchen, Leo realized that his journey was complete. He had become the guide. He had opened the door for someone else. This is the true power of learning English with an open mind. It is not just about getting a better job or traveling to London. It is about becoming a person who can connect with others. It is about becoming a person who is not afraid of the unknown. When you open your mind to a new language, you open your heart to the world. We are nearing the end of our long session today. I want to take a few minutes to review the key pillars of the open mind method that we have discovered through Leo's story. If you have a notebook, this is a good time to write these down. If you are driving or walking, just listen and let these ideas settle in your mind. Pillar number 1, curiosity over perfection. Remember the pizza on the ceiling? Leo could have quit. He could have cried. But he laughed. He was curious about the process of making dough more than he was afraid of looking silly. When you are curious, fear cannot exist. Ask questions. Ask, "What does that mean?" Ask, "Why do you say it that way?" Be a detective, not a judge. Pillar number 2, active engagement. Leo didn't just listen to English, he did things in English. He cooked, he guided tourists, he fixed computers, he traveled. Language is a tool. If you leave a hammer on the shelf, it does nothing. You have to pick it up and hit a nail. Find an activity you love, gaming, gardening, painting, coding, and do it in English. Pillar number 3, the power of community. Leo failed when he was alone in his room. He succeeded when he found Sam, Elena, and his colleagues. You need a support system. You need people who will high-five you when you get it right, and laugh with you when you get it wrong. Don't be a lonely island. Build a bridge. Pillar number 4, embracing discomfort. Growth only happens outside your comfort zone. Taking the client to dinner was scary. Going to London was scary. Speaking at the high school was scary. But every time Leo did a scary thing, his world got bigger. If you feel nervous, that is a good sign. It means you are about to learn something. Pillar number 5, passing it on. The final step of mastery is teaching. When Leo helped Sam with computers, and when he welcomed the young man at the door, he solidified his own confidence. You don't have to be a teacher to help someone. You can help a beginner. You can write a comment to encourage another learner. When you give, you receive. So, What is next for you? I want you to make a pledge today. A pledge is a serious promise. I want you to promise yourself that you will try one new thing this month. It doesn't have to be huge. You don't have to fly to England. You could try reading a poem. You could try watching a movie without subtitles. You could try recording your voice for 1 minute every day. Whatever it is, do it with an open mind. Do it with the spirit of Leo. I also want to ask you to support this channel. We have spent a long time together today. If this story touched your heart, if it gave you a new perspective, please consider sharing it. Send the link to a friend. Post it on your social media. Help us reach more Leos out there who are standing outside the door, afraid to knock. I read every single comment on these videos. For today's final discussion, I want you to write about your big dream. Leo's dream was to travel and make friends. What is yours? Do you want to study at a university in America? Do you want to understand the lyrics of your favorite songs? Do you want to read Harry Potter in the original version? Write your dream in the comments. Writing it down makes it real. Thank you. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your trust. Learning a language is a long road. There are sunny days and rainy days. There are days when you feel like a genius, and days when you feel like you know nothing. But remember, as long as you keep walking, you are getting closer. This has been a special episode of English in Fluency. I am Alex, your host, your guide, and your friend. I am rooting for you. I believe in your potential. Now, turn off this video, go out into the world, and open that door. Until next time, stay curious, stay brave, and keep practicing. Goodbye.